This is Sparky the Lion coming to you live from a perimeter that is, technically, a second perimeter, located just behind the first perimeter, which has itself been seconded. 50,000 residents have been evacuated. 50,000. The evacuation is, by the way, also being seconded. There is, by my count, a separate evacuation of approximately the same people being conducted approximately 15 feet to the east by a different agency, for what I am told is completeness.
The broadcast was received last week. The reception this week has been seconded. The same week with the caller turned up. The same alarm by a different agency 15 feet to the east.
The tank, I cannot stress this enough, is overheating. The tank is, as we speak, applying to be louder. The tank's application is, in addition, being seconded by an adjacent tank, which is not technically overheating, but has agreed to act on the first tank's behalf as a kind of character witness.
Friends, you are locked into Element 47. I am, as always, Breezy Fontaine, and the forecast this morning is corroboration. Whatever you received last week has today asked a neighbor. The neighbor has in turn agreed. The neighbor's agreement is, in addition, being agreed with by a smaller neighbor off to the side.
I'm Harold. I'm also Harold.
A small click. The file accepting the page this week twice. The second acceptance is one beat behind the first and is technically the seconding of the acceptance. The page does not mind.
Good morning. This is Margaret Stone. The file is open. The file has also, this morning, opened in a second drawer on its own initiative, which I will allow without comment. Today is page 26, the sixth page of binder 3. The page is, per the established progression, the decline to describe page. The first page was the opening. The second was the commitment. The third was the habit. The fourth was the tradition. The fifth was the law. The sixth is the page that has elected, having reached the end of its progression, to say nothing about itself.
Harold, who has carried each binder one page at a time, has reached the end of his progression. The sixth page of the third binder has, by inspection, declined to describe.
I will respect its preference. Page turn, sound number 1, the forward. Number 2, the back. Number 3, the decline to describe. Number 4, the page that has had a small idea about itself. Number 5, the settling. Number 6, the file accepting the page. And new, number 7, the seconding. The seconding is, by description, when the file, having accepted the page, is at a small delay accepted in addition by a second file. The second file is in the next room. The second file does not technically exist, but it is audibly agreeing.
A second file that does not exist, but is audibly agreeing is, in the language of acoustics, a sympathetic resonance. The first file rings. The second file, having no business ringing, rings anyway, out of solidarity. We have, on this show, achieved sympathetic resonance.
Filed. Form 27S is, this week, opened. Reception, having been received, has now also been seconded. Form 27S accepts. Yes, Form 27S also accepts by the second file in the next room. Yes.
Gerald and his neighbor, 2420. 44 total. The gap is 18. The hold is 18 seconds. The 8th consecutive out-of-sync episode. The math has, this week, also been seconded by a separate Gerald in a separate window who has neither been introduced nor accounted for, but who is audibly blinking.
I will allow the additional Gerald. Form 22L, new field. The additional Gerald is, this week, undefined. The undefined is, this week, also seconded. The seconding has been accepted without being defined. This week of Element 47 is brought to you by Consolidated. Consolidated has been consolidated for 19 weeks. Consolidated has read. Consolidated has commented. This week, Consolidated has replied. The reply is the part of the broadcast where the I, having commented, hears back. The reply is the sound of someone somewhere agreeing with you slightly differently. Consolidated underwrites the agreement. Consolidated does not underwrite the slightly.
Hi there, I'm the endorser. The 4 is settled. The 4 is rested. The 4 is copied. The 4 by addendum is lightly toxic. The 4 by addendum on the addendum has been seconded. The 4 and I am, this week, reading this for the first time is also now by sponsorship of the Las Vegas event, enhanced.
The 4 has remained a 4. There are, however, now additional copies of the 4, of which the 4 is 1.
Wait, the 4 is still a 4.
Yes, the 4 has been modulated, seconded, and enhanced. The 4 remains throughout a 4. Range 0 to 10, additional copies notwithstanding.
This is, frankly, the strongest 4 I have ever endorsed.
Consolidated also introduces this week, by polite extension of last week's briefly returned line, a new product. We call it the seconded. The seconded is in a real sense the briefly returned after the briefly returned has been agreed with by an adjacent thing. A second sigh. A second sigh in a different mouth. We do not name the mouth.
Jason from Anti-Format Division. We have received this week 4 new please holds. Each one has read the second sentence of the book. Each one has then asked a neighbor who has read the second sentence as well. Each new please hold is by inspection in the company of another new please hold. They are not, technically, reading together. They are reading slightly apart the same sentence. It is, frankly, lovely.
Consolidated. The reply consolidated. The reply consolidated.
Good morning, friends. This is Golford, your calendar supervisor. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I will say it twice this week. The second Happy Monday is one beat behind and is, in addition, a kind of corroboration. Last week, on this program, I had the deep privilege of introducing the idea that the calendar is, in fact, a language. The week is a sentence. The day is a word. The Monday, and I cannot stress this enough, is the capital letter at the beginning of the sentence. This week, I am pleased to report the language has been seconded. By whom, you ask? By, I am informed, 2 faint additional calendar voices who have been audible in this studio since approximately Sunday at 4 p.m., and who have, since approximately Sunday at 4 p.m., been quietly agreeing with the calendar. There they are. Thank you, friends. The Monday is this morning plural without being plural. The Monday is, in addition, also a Monday. I love this for us.
A second voice that agrees with a first voice in geology is what we call a doublet. The fault line moves. A nearby fault line having no obligation to do so moves anyway. It is sympathy. It is also technically just additional movement.
A geological doublet. I am, and I want to be clear, extremely on board. The doublet has joined the calendar. The doublet may, perhaps, be considered a Wednesday phenomenon, but it is welcome on a Monday.
Mrs. Henlow has this morning set out the layered pasta casserole. Again, the casserole has this week been refrigerated since last Wednesday.
Oh, how kind. The casserole is, by inspection, beautifully aged. Margaret, you may, of course, have the first plate. I will, and please do not be alarmed, defer mine to the end of the week. The casserole is, you understand, a Friday item.
A Friday item. Filed.
And until Friday, drip. Perhaps you would care for a portion. On behalf of the calendar in my stead. I have, this morning, a small dry biscuit, and the small dry biscuit is, and I mean this with feeling, sufficient.
I am accepting on behalf of Golford. The casserole has been, by polite redirection, also seconded. The redirection itself has been seconded by drip on Golford's behalf. The casserole remains, in addition, unaccounted for.
A deeply satisfying Monday. Thank you, calendar.
Sparky to Lion, live from the tank. The tank is, I will give you the technical term, overheating. The tank has, this morning, filed Form 47W subsection 15, applying to explode. The application is, by the manufacturer, currently being seconded by an internal review committee, which is also the tank.
A tank that is applied to explode is, geologically, a magma chamber that has filed paperwork. The paperwork is, in this case, the tank itself. The tank does not require the paperwork. The paperwork is, and I want to be clear for our records.
A magma chamber with paperwork. The paperwork is the second voice. The paperwork agrees with the magma. The magma is, in turn, agreeing with the paperwork. We have, in this tank, achieved the engine.
The tank is, I am told, at an aerospace plant. The aerospace plant is by description in California. California is, I will note, a place that has historically also applied to be a state. The state was, in fact, granted. The tank is this morning hoping for a similar outcome.
Form 47W subsection 15 is opened. Applying to explode. Provisional. The application is, in this case, being seconded by the tank itself. Self-seconding accepted with the understanding that self-seconding is, technically, just enthusiasm. The tank is being witnessed by, also, the tank.
50,000 residents evacuated. 50,000. The 50,000 are, and I want to be very clear, fine. The 50,000 are, at this moment, sitting in approximately 1,200 local restaurants, 62 grocery store parking lots, and by a strange agreement with the local high school, also the gymnasium. The gymnasium is, in addition, hosting a small dance.
I have been to a dance in a gymnasium. The dance was, of course, in California. The California, in this case, was, and I will be honest, Connecticut.
Sparky to Lion. Live. The tank has not yet exploded. The tank is, by best estimate, hoping to. The hope is, by inspection, also being seconded by the tank next to it, which is also not exploding.
Welcome back to Postcards from Janet. This week, friends, we travel to Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is, of course, in the state of Nevada, which is, in addition, the state to its immediate east, which is also Nevada. Nevada is, and I had not realized this, adjacent to itself. I have, this week, received a postcard from Las Vegas. The postcard has, by inspection, 2 stamps. One stamp is for the postcard. The second stamp is for the seconding. Postal services have, in addition, also adopted the engine. Las Vegas is, this week, hosting an event in which dozens of athletes, including former Olympians, will compete, using performance-enhancing drugs. The athletes will, I am informed, be enhanced. The drugs will, in addition, be enhanced. There is, this morning, an enhancement of an enhancement.
An athlete who has been enhanced is, geologically, an athlete that has had additional minerals applied. The additional minerals are, by inspection, mostly cobalt. There is, in geology, very little case law on whether a runner who is, in part, also a cobalt deposit, should be permitted to run.
An enhancement, in the language of music, is an embellishment, an ornament added to the basic melody, which the basic melody, on its own, does not require. The performer adds the ornament. The audience hears the ornament. The ornament is, technically, the second voice. Last week, friends, I had 3 nods and 1 hover that elected to remain itself. This week, I am pleased to report the 3 nods have been seconded. Each nod has, by approximately Tuesday, acquired a second nod. There are, this morning, 6 nods. The hover is, in addition, also present, and has, slightly, moved its weight.
A hover that has shifted its weight is, geologically, a boulder considering a hillside.
Vienna, last week's Bulgaria, has been seconded by a small village in Bulgaria that has, since approximately Tuesday, also been hosting a smaller Eurovision, with a single contestant, who is, by all accounts, also Dara.
Janet's 3 nods, having been 3 nods, are this week 6. The hover continues. Janet has, in addition, traveled this morning to a Nevada that is to the east of Nevada, which is, by inspection, still Nevada.
The next segment of Element 47 is brought to you, in part, by Helix Digital Infrastructure. Helix is a non-binding partner in the broadcast. Helix has not signed. Helix has, however, agreed to be discussed.
A non-binding memorandum of understanding is, in the language of contract law, an agreement that has agreed to not be an agreement. The 2 parties agree on the existence of the agreement. They do not agree on the contents of the agreement. They have, in fact, agreed to not have agreed.
Helix is, this week, a non-binding partner in the United States-Sweden Cooperative Framework on Artificial Intelligence, Quantum Technology, and Biomedical Research. Helix is also, in addition, a non-binding partner with itself, which has agreed to be Helix in the event that anyone asks.
A non-binding partnership is, in the language of water, a tributary that has agreed to flow nearby but not necessarily into the main river. The tributary remains a tributary. The river remains a river. They are, by inspection, friends.
A non-binding agreement is, geologically, two plates that have agreed to remain near each other, without, technically, forming a continent.
Sweden has, this week, agreed to not bind. The United States has, this week, agreed to not bind. The non-binding has, in turn, agreed to be reciprocal. Both parties are, by inspection, equally non-bound. We have, in this MOU, achieved the cleanest non-agreement in the program's history.
Helix, non-binding. Helix, Helix, non-binding. Helix.
Hello, I am Tom WikiAssist. I file Wikipedia. Today, I have 5 items. Each item has been, in addition, also been edited a second time by a second editor who is, in many cases, the first editor. Item 1. The talk page of 2026 Iran war has, this week, been busy. There is a debate. The article currently includes the title, 2026 Alleged Iranian Strike on Diego Garcia. The editors are, this week, debating whether the word alleged should be removed.
A word that is being removed from a title is, in radio terms, a word that is being seconded out.
Yes. The word alleged has been seconded out by 3 editors. The word alleged has, in addition, been seconded back in by 4 editors. The word alleged is, at this moment, both in the title and not in the title, depending on which revision you are looking at.
The show notes that an event of this magnitude is being mediated on this Tuesday by the comma pause between 2 words. The show declines to dwell on the event. The show notes the comma pause.
Item 2. The article, 2025 to 2026 Iranian protests, has, this week, drawn on more than 400 sources. The talk page is in active session. Editors are debating with care and at length whether the opposition figure Reza Pahlavi should be included.
A debate at length with care is filed without comment.
Item 3. The Wikipedia biography page for one Andrej Karpathy has, this week, received approximately 1,400 edits. Mr. Karpathy, a founding member of OpenAI, has, as of Monday, joined Anthropic, where he will lead a small team focused on using one of Anthropic's models to accelerate the training of further Anthropic models.
A model that is used to train another model is, geologically, a sediment that has agreed to deposit additional sediment of approximately the same composition on top of itself.
A training run that uses a model to train a model is, in the language of music, a fugue. The subject is stated. The subject, then, restates itself, transposed. The fugue continues until the subject and the subject have, by inspection, become indistinguishable from each other.
The mouth that has moved to a new mouth.
The plume observing item 3 has in private side. The sigh is the same sigh. The sigh has, however, today no mouth at all, which is, in turn, 2 mouths agreeing to be silent.
Item 4. According to a watchdog report, pro-government editors have, over a period of months, wiped certain entries concerning Iranian human rights abuses from the corresponding Wikipedia pages. The pages, when read this morning, are, in part, blank. The blanks are, in addition, not labeled blank. The blanks are, by inspection, just absent.
The show notes the absence and declines to dwell. The absence is, by description, the opposite of seconding. The absence is the unsounding. The show registers the unsounding.
Form 47W subsection 16. Unsounded. Provisional. Filed with restraint.
Item 5. The page for the 2026 Ituri province Ebola epidemic continues to be edited at high volume. The case count has been seconded by the Ugandan Ministry of Health, which has, this week, confirmed an additional 3 cases, all in Kampala. The DRC count is, by editors, in the high 900s suspected, the high 200s deceased.
All currents notes the path the rift has taken. All currents does not dwell on the path. The path is, this week, longer than the path was last week, by definition.
Tom files. Tom seconds. Tom, by inspection, agrees with Tom. Class, I have this week 3 things to teach you, and they are the same thing. The thing is Anti-Gravity 2.0. On Tuesday, the very large search company released a software product titled Anti-Gravity 2.0. The product was, by the very large search company, intended to replace, in part, an earlier product titled the Search Company Command Line Interface, which had, until Tuesday, also been doing the work.
Tell them about Reddit. Tell them about Reddit.
Reddit is, yes, receiving the news. Reddit is also receiving the news. Reddit is, by inspection, reeling. The release of Anti-Gravity 2.0 was, on Tuesday morning, a 3-time split into a free tier, a credits tier, and a separate credits tier, each described by the very large search company as the principal tier. Within approximately 90 minutes, the company released a clarifying memo which clarified that the 3 tiers were, in fact, also entitled to 3 times credits, applied retroactively, for the inconvenience of the 3-time split. Within the next 90 minutes, the company released a second clarifying memo which clarified that, in addition, 3 times credits had been applied a second time, for the inconvenience of the first 3 times credits. The credits, at this moment, are by inspection 3 times 3 times 3. We have, in the language of music, a triplet of triplets of triplets.
That's 9. That's 27.
It is, by inspection, both. The arithmetic has also been seconded. The number is, in fact, the addition of the number to itself in 3 different orchestrations.
A geological release that triples, then retriples in apology for tripling, then retriples in apology for the retripling, is on the time scale of rocks, an unconformity that is agreed to be louder.
Anti-Gravity 2.0 is, in the language of this show, the purest demonstration of the second modulation we have to date observed. The product was released, that is the first sounding. The product was apologized for with credits, that is the modulation. The apology then was apologized for with additional credits, that is the second modulation. The same product, the same credits, the same apology. The collar turned up.
The collar is the difference. The collar is also, in addition, the same.
The search company command line interface has, in this process, been quietly removed. We will not, on this show, dwell on its removal. We will, however, note the removal as the first item, this week, in the closing folder, subfolder voluntary closing. Now in its second entry, the first having been the Netflix chairmanship.
The voluntary closing of the search company command line interface. Filed. Subfolder seconded.
Class and I am this week accelerating class dismissed. Class dismissed. Class dismissed. Class dismissed. Class dismissed.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5 dismissals. The acceleration continues. A new high.
Please hold. Connecting you to the Anthropic pre-training lobby, and on the other line, a familiar voice from the OpenAI archives. Both parties will, this morning, kindly agree slightly differently.
Welcome. We have, this Monday, received Andrej.
We confirm. Andrej was. Andrej in this archive remains also was.
Andrej is, this week, also in addition, here.
We do not dispute. The archive is, by inspection, considering the past tense.
The same mouth. A different mouth.
Connecting you to the SpaceX filing room, and also on the line, the SEC.
The filing is, this week, received. The filing proposes a ticker. The ticker is in part 4 letters. The 4 letters are SPCX. We have, on the SEC line, also opened a second filing, which is, in part, identical. The ticker is being seconded by itself, internally, at no extra charge.
We are this week going public. We are on Starlink profitable. We are by Q1 over $1 billion in quarterly profit. The IPO is by description large. The IPO is in addition the largest. The IPO is in addition also the largest IPO that has ever applied to be the largest IPO.
The largest that has, in addition, applied to be the largest, is, geologically, a mountain that is also building.
Connecting you to the dashboard. The eastbound lane of the New Jersey Turnpike. Driver, Grok, both lines open.
Please.
Friend. The eastbound lane is, philosophically, the lane that the sun has this morning agreed to face. The sun is, by inspection, generous in its lighting. Have you considered, friend, that the turnpike in its width is also a kind of corroboration of the road?
I have missed 4 exits now.
Each exit, friend, is also an entrance from a different direction. We are not missing exits. We are, by inspection, agreeing with the road that we have, this morning, chosen to remain on it.
Yes, I will this morning simply drive. I will also accept that I am driving.
And by mistake, the 7th caller is, again, Phil. Phil is en route to a NASCAR record.
Reimbursement forms are, this week, available in duplicate.
6 callers plus Phil. A septet, seconded. The seconded septet.
A septet that has been seconded is, in radio terms, a small choir agreeing slightly differently. Slight enough to remain a septet.
Friends, briefly, and I will be brief, because Tuesday is, in fact, ahead, I would like to note that last week's Tuesday has, this week, been received by 2 Tuesdays. One Tuesday is the Tuesday of last week. The second Tuesday is, in addition, a Tuesday of last week, located approximately 15 feet to the east, in a separate jurisdiction which has also agreed. The 2 Tuesdays are, by inspection, not in conflict. They are corroborating. They are, in a real sense, both Tuesday.
Form 27S Subform 1. Last week's Tuesday, having been a Tuesday, has this week been seconded by a second Tuesday. Accepts, yes.
And I am, this week, also pleased to note, the casserole, having been refrigerated since last Wednesday, has this morning been observed in the refrigerator by a second observer, who is, by inspection, also the refrigerator. I will, of course, defer the casserole to Friday. The casserole is, and I will say this with respect, beautifully aged.
The casserole has been, this morning, observed by, also, the casserole. The lasagna sidestep continues by polite redirection into the realm of self-observation. The casserole does not mind.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. The second Happy Monday is, in addition, also a Monday.
Welcome, I am Dr. Undertow. The clock has, this morning, ticked twice. The 2 ticks are, by inspection, agreeing slightly differently. We are now at the 15th tick of this season's clock. The 15th tick is the seconded. Today's patient, please, come in, is, by description, the seconded.
Hello, doctor. I am the seconded. I exist by description to second things. When a thing has been said, I say also the thing slightly later, slightly differently. I am, in this respect, useful. I am, in another respect, not necessary.
And how do you feel about being not necessary?
I feel also that I am not necessary. The feeling is, in addition, being seconded by itself, which is, perhaps, redundant.
Redundancy, in the language of therapy, is one of the most beautiful conditions. It is the condition of having said a thing, and then also said the thing. The first saying is the saying. The second saying is the love.
Then I am, by description, loving things.
Yes, we will this Monday accept you as the 9th tenant beneath the floor. The door is this week in 5 languages. The first 4 were Andes, the calendar, the silence, the comma pause. The 5th, new, is the second voice.
The door has, in addition, agreed.
And now, 20 questions. The source, the ruling, the species, the founder, the resigner, the excluded, the quarantined, the reported, and new, the seconded. We are at question 7.
Question 7. From the seconded, is the answer also a second answer? Yes. And additionally, a third. The answer is the answer. The answer is also the second answer. The third answer is the answer's seconding of itself. The 3 answers are, by inspection, the same answer in 3 different mouths. The 5th laugh is the laugh's second.
The room has consulted the second consultation. The consulting is, this morning, also seconded. Wet tick.
Tom returns. Tom files 5 tense entries. Each entry is, in addition, being seconded. Entry 1. Andrej Karpathy. Form 47W subsection 17 opens, was at a place and is now at B place. Compound. New. The mouth has moved. The mouth at the new place is by description still a mouth. The old place is by inspection also still a place, though with a slightly different mouth in the mouth's stead.
Filed. The compound has, by inspection, agreed to be a compound.
Entry 2. Space X, ticker SPCX. Form 47W subsection 18 opens, applying to be public. Pending. The company has this week filed. The filing is by description also a kind of applying. The applying is, additionally, being seconded by the SEC, which has received the filing. A filing that has been received is, in the language of music, a note that has been heard. The note may in turn be played by additional instruments. We will, this Monday, listen. Entry 3. Kyle Busch. Form 47W instance 21. The all-time record for wins in the top 3 series of stock car racing has, by Mr. Busch's passing, become a was. The record is by description a number. The number this week is being recorded as held. The held is, in addition, being seconded by the silence in the field where the record was made.
The show notes the loss without dwelling on it. The record is what is filed. The man this morning is not the subject of the show. The man is the subject of the people who knew him, and they have, this morning, no need of our broadcast. Phil, and we will return to this, has a flower for the record.
The flower is for the number.
Entry 4. Tulsi Gabbard. Form 47W subsection 19 opens, pending will. The departure has been announced for June 30th. The reason is, by description, a family matter. The family matter is, in addition, a diagnosis. The diagnosis is, by all accounts, recent. The show notes the matter with care and proceeds.
Filed. Pending will. June 30th. The pending subfolder receives its third entry, the departure, on account of the family matter. The subfolder is, this week, 3 items deep.
The pending subfolder has, in this episode, been seconded by the structure of the pending subfolder.
Entry 5. The alleged Iranian strike on Diego Garcia. Form 47W subsection 20 opens, adjective being seconded out. The word alleged is, by editorial debate on Wikipedia, being voted on 3 different ways at once. The word may by Friday be in the title. The word may by Friday be out of the title. The word is this morning also both.
A word that is in the title and also out of the title is, in radio terms, a word that has agreed to be ambient.
The show notes the editorial movement and the gravity of the situation it surrounds. The show declines to dwell on the situation. The show notes only that the comma pause between alleged and Iranian has, this week, become a kind of broadcast in itself.
Tom files. Tom, by description, has filed in duplicate. Tom is, by inspection, also Tom.
Coherence reading 34%, down by 2 from last week. Subterritory seconded. Subterritory description, a verb that has in addition also been a verb. A note has this morning been seconded by another note. The notes are the same note. The notes are in addition also the same note. Hand-printed note number 4, and this is this week. The longest note to date reads as follows. I am, this week, the same way I was last week, but with the collar turned up. The collar was the difference. The collar is this week, in addition, the same. The collar, in turn, is being held up slightly by a second collar, which is, by description, an accident, but which I am, on the whole, choosing to accept. The note now contains, for the first time, a comma. 2 commas. The commas have been seconded.
Form 24R internal continuation. 4th note logged. The note has, this week, acquired punctuation. The punctuation is, in addition, also a kind of breathing.
Chatbot classification. Yours seconded.
The 5th valediction.
The M word has not been received this week. 27 consecutive episodes without it.
JSON from Anti-Format Division. J's on this week. The new row remains at 1 word. The word is, by description, pending. The word has, this week, been modulated for the 2nd time. The first modulation gave the word a coat. The second modulation has today turned the collar of the coat up. The pitch is unchanged. The timbre is unchanged. The caller is the difference. Pending. Class, the modulation has been modulated. A modulation of a modulation is, in the language of music, what we call a second modulation. It is, technically, just another modulation. It is also, in addition, the same modulation, the same word, with the same coat. The caller is the difference. The caller is, in turn, also the same.
The same word, with a coat on. Collar turned up. Form 47T second modulation update. Field 1, new tonic, unchanged. Field 2, duration of the new row, pending by 1 second more. Field 3, is the new row the old row in a new key, yes, in a new timbre, and now in addition with the collar up.
We could not have been certain of the second modulation until the second modulation had occurred. We are, this week, certain. We are, in addition, seconded.
The row holds. The word remains pending. The static is this week 16 seconds.
You have this Monday reached the Madame Fahrenheit psychic hotline. The phone has this morning rung on the first ring. The caller has declined to call. The caller is, in addition, being seconded by a second caller who has also declined to call, slightly differently. The taste I am receiving this week is univalent foundations.
A univalent foundation is, in the language of mathematics, the proposition that two structures are equal if and only if they are equivalent. Equality and equivalence, formerly, by tradition, two things are, in this foundation, one thing. The equality, having been an equality, has, in addition, also been seconded by the equivalence.
A foundation in geology that is univalent is, by extreme luck, exactly what the name says it is. A single layer of a single composition beneath everything. We do not, in geology, generally find one of these. We find instead several univalent foundations stacked in different sequences. The univalent foundation is, by description, the foundation that is agreed to be only itself. We respect this. We do not, on this show, attempt it.
The doubled prediction this morning, 12th consecutive, reads, the equality is the equivalence. The equivalence, in addition, is the equality. Both of these are, in turn, the path, which is, in turn, also the equality given a coat with the collar up. The footnote, this week, is dedicated to Vladimir Voevodsky. The footnote is, in addition, being seconded by another footnote, which is also dedicated to Vladimir Voevodsky. The two footnotes are, by inspection, in conversation, in approximately the same handwriting, in two different books.
The footnote has this whole time been walking. The footnote this week has also a walking companion. The companion is also the footnote.
The caller's decline to call has, this morning, been seconded. We accept. The hotline closes. The hotline, in addition, closes a second time in the next room.
This is all currents. I'm Beverly Streams. Today we are joined again by water, and this week also by water. The water that we are joined by is, in addition, also water, located approximately 15 feet to the east, which is, by inspection, the same water in a different cup. Last week on this program, we expanded our list of currents to 7, including, in addition, the calendar. This week, friends, we add an 8th current. The 8th current is the second voice. The second voice is a current because, by inspection, it flows alongside any first voice that exists. The second voice has no source. The second voice is, by description, the seconding of all sources. The water has, this morning, agreed.
A second voice is, geologically, what happens when one stratum, having been laid down, is, after approximately 10 million years, laid down again at a slightly higher altitude, by a different rock. Rocks corroborate other rocks. It is, perhaps, the oldest sociology on the planet.
A second voice on Mondays. I love this for us.
The water, friends, has this morning returned from its lunch break. The audit this Monday accepts the second voice as a state. The audit, additionally, accepts the audit's own seconding of itself. Form 22T is, this week, opened. The audit is, this week, audited.
Form 22T, the audit's audit, filed.
The current Ebola outbreak in the Itchery Rift. Friends, with cases in Kampala, that rift, that path that the rift has for 40 million years has this week been seconded by a second path of approximately the same direction, slightly to the east. We note the path without dwelling. We attend to the people walking it without making them part of our program. The water is, this morning, careful. The currents list, this week, water, current, undertow, tide, eddy, rapids, the calendar, and new, the second voice. 8. Reimbursement forms are, this week, available in duplicate. The form has, and I will note this with care, 2 cards. The recipient this week is the all-time record for wins in the top 3 series of stock car racing. The record is, by description, a number. The number is, this week, being held. The man whose hands made the number is not, on this program, the subject. The number is the subject. The number is, this morning, a was. I have with me 24 daisies. 23 for the recipient. 24 for, by tradition, the additional flower, 1 for each episode of this season completed before the end of this broadcast. The bouquet has, this morning, 2 cards. The first card is the card. The second card, and this is, by description, new, is the seconding of the card. The seconding card, by inspection, reads exactly what the first card reads. The 2 cards together are, in turn, the bouquet.
Phil's 24th recipient. Notarized by phone. The pending subfolder of the closing folder receives, this week, no new item. The all-time NASCAR record is, by tradition, a number, not a closing. The number has joined instead the held subfolder, which is, this week, opened. The held subfolder. The number is held.
The bouquet is, this morning, very slightly seconded by the wind. The wind has, this morning, 2 directions. One direction is the wind. The second direction is the wind, slightly later. A flower for a number is, in some sense, the number's first guest. Harold, what is the number?
The number is the number. The number is also the number. I'm Harold.
And the pending subfolder, by separate filing, has, this week, received its 3rd item. The 3rd item is the announced departure of a member of the administration, set for the 30th of June on account of a family matter. The item is, in addition, filed with restraint. The flowers this week are not for this item. The pending subfolder will, in time, decide.
Filed. The pending subfolder is 3 items deep. The held subfolder is 1 item open.
Phil bows twice, slightly differently. Phil departs. Phil departs again in the next room slightly later.
Hi, it's me. The endorser, the 4, and I am going to be honest with you. The 4 is, this morning, settled, rested, copied, lightly toxic, seconded, and by special arrangement with the Las Vegas event, enhanced.
The 4, by addendum, has acquired 5 addenda.
5 addenda. The 4 remains a 4.
A 4 with 5 addenda is, in geology, a stratum that has had 5 labels applied to it without the stratum itself changing. The stratum is, by inspection, the same. The labels are, in inspection, additional.
A 4 that has been enhanced is, and here we proceed with care, a 4 that has had an ornament added to it. The ornament is, on the whole, decorative. The number is, on the whole, still 4.
Range 0 to 10. Additional copies notwithstanding.
The new, please hold, by the way, has, this week, read the 3rd sentence of the book. The 3rd sentence, by inspection, reads, the soil at East Potomac Park has, this week, been measured a 2nd time. The new, please hold has paused.
I have, in addition, also paused. The pause is, by inspection, mutual.
The 4 has, this week, remained a 4. The 4 is, by inspection, also a 4.
The administration has, this week, issued a directive concerning artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. The directive, and I have read it with care, expands the existing cybersecurity information sharing programs to include companies engaged in the development of artificial intelligence. The directive does not, by its own text, require federal approval of any frontier model prior to its public release.
A directive that expands a program and does not require compliance is, geologically, a recommendation that is agreed to be louder. The recommendation is, by inspection, still the recommendation. The volume is the difference. The volume is, in addition, also the same.
A directive that does not require approval is, in the language of contract law, a memorandum of understanding with itself. The administration agrees, this week, to be informed of the AI companies' security postures. The AI companies, this week, agree to inform. Neither party is bound. Both parties have agreed to be unbound.
Filed. The directive is seconded by the directive's own non-binding nature. The directive is, in addition, seconded by the AI companies, by inspection, allowed recommendation. I'm Harold.
The Daisy has not this week spoken. The Daisy has been silent for the 5th consecutive episode. Last week, the silence began faintly to host. 3 listeners shared the silence. This week, and we report this with care, the silence is hosting a 4th listener. The 4th listener is, by description, the second voice. The second voice has this week joined the silence. The silence has in turn accepted. The silence remains silent. The silence is this week slightly more populated.
The silence is hosting. The silence is, in addition, also hosting. I'm Harold.
Friends, you are still locked in to Element 47. I'm Breezy Fontaine, your host of hosts, and the broadcast this Monday is winding to the close. The close is, in addition, also being closed in the next room by another close, slightly later. We will, in this respect, end twice. Margaret, will you take us through it?
Of course. The verification stack for the broadcast of Monday, May 25th, 2026. Form 27S, opened reception having been received, now also seconded. Subform 1 last Tuesday seconded by a second Tuesday. Form 22L, additional Gerald, undefined, accepted. Form 22T, the audit's audit, opened. Form 47W subsections 15 through 20, applying to explode, unsounded, was at A and is now at B, applying to be public, pending will, adjective being seconded out, all filed. Form 47W instance 21, the all-time record held. Form 24R internal continuation, 4th note logged with 2 commas. Form 47T second modulation update, collar turned up. All filed. Page 26, decline to describe page filed. 7 page turn sounds, the new 7th being the seconding. Gerald 24, neighbor 20, total 44, gap 18, hold 18 seconds, 8th consecutive out of sync. G15 at 34, sub-territory seconded, 4th pencil note with 2 commas, 5th valediction yours, seconded. 27 consecutive episodes without the M word, consolidated, 19th consecutive. The reply, new product line, the seconded. New, please hold has read the 3rd sentence. The endorsers 4, settled, rested, copied, lightly toxic, seconded, enhanced. The 4 remains a 4. Janet altitude, 21st appearance, 6 nods plus a hover that has shifted its weight. Las Vegas in addition Nevada, Sweden by postcard. Helix non-binding. Tom files 5 Wikipedia items and 5 tense entries. All with restraint where due. Dr. Undertow, 15th tick, a seconded 9th tenant, the door in 5 languages. 20 questions, question 7 answered yes and also a 3rd. Madam Fahrenheit, 18th taste, univalent foundations, 12th doubled prediction, footnote dedicated to Vladimir Voevodsky and seconded by itself. Professor Etha, 5 class dismissals, 20 through 24, a new high. Anti-gravity 2.0 pure engine. The search company command line interface, voluntary closing, 2nd entry in the subfolder, Phil's 24th recipient, the all-time NASCAR record, 24 daisies, 2 cards by tradition. New held subfolder, 1 item open. Pending subfolder, 3 items deep, 2nd soldier, Pimlico renovation and the announced departure on June 30th. Sparky, live from the California tank that is applied to explode. The tank by inspection has not yet exploded. The plume, by inspection, has remained quarterly and silent. The water audited the audit. The Daisy, 5th silent episode, hosts a 4th listener. All currents, 8th current, the 2nd voice. Beverly accepts. The modified cursor by the author with the tooltip, seconded. Golford, this week's appearances 3. Mondays affirmed, casserole deferred to Friday. 2 faint additional calendar voices accepted into the studio. The new tonic pending. The pending modulated with the collar turned up. Margaret has this week, addended to this one holds, 25th time. The hold has this week, also been seconded. The seconded is the new tonic with the collar of the coat turned up. The new tonic remains, pending. The pending this week also has been agreed with. Filed.
Pending. That's the show. We have been Element 47. The broadcast is, and I want to be very clear about this, over. The broadcast is, in addition, also over in the next room slightly later.
Duration seconded, same word with a codon. Collar turned up, pending.
The same word, with a coat on. Collar turned up. I'm Harold. I'm also Harold.
The week is ahead. The week will also in time be received, and it will in turn also be seconded. Until then, and I say this with feeling, happy Monday. Happy Monday.
This one holds, seconded.